Hello fellow travelers, my name's SG and welcome to the channel. Today, since the Miles Morales short film came out today, along with the reveal of Marvel Rivals, I thought it'd be a good chance to talk about the original Spider-Verse special. The one that came before the comics, the one that came before the movies, and the one became before Miles Morales. That would be the Spider-Man animated series, the Spider Wars. So, let's talk about it, shall we? The Spider Wars, as it's been called by the fans, or if you want to go by its listed name as I Really Hate Clones Part 1 and 2, was just a 2-part episode, or 3 depending on if you think it leaks into the Secret War that happened just before it, where it acted as a series finale above all, leaving fans somewhat pleased by this ending, giving good closure for the characters, and even giving a fair nod to the original creator, aka Stan Lee. And this acted as a decent way of ending the series as a whole, providing us with 6 different Spider-Men to learn about that were introduced in the comics. At least 2 of them were. The rest were original creations of the show itself, and as we know, would later on be the inspiration to comics, to cartoons, and even some live actions as we've seen later on in the future. All the Spider-Mans are voiced by Christopher Daniel Barnes, who is the original voice of Spider-Man in the animated series. Now, even though he's the same voice actor for all of them, he does add a different tone and different direction for each different character. Some of them are similar, some of them are different. You could tell by the way they act and the way their presence is. How Iron Spider-Man does have a little more confidence to him. How Octo Spider-Man has a little more technological side to him there. And even as the Spider-Man that's closer to ours is more of a powerhouse because he's in the middle of his transformation stage. This does give a decent ending to the Spider-Man series, as I said before. In this one, Madam Web, acting as both the Watcher in modern day interpretations and as just someone who's keeping the web of time in balance, has asked the regular Spider-Man, the one we've been following in the animated series, to help assist these other Spider-Men from a cataclysmic event that would endanger their webs. And that cataclysmic event is a Spider Carnage, a Spider-Man who's met with the Carnage from the main series and has bonded with him and is seeking the destruction of all Spider-Verses, mainly because his own identity crisis with the Scarlet Spider, or as we know him as Ben Reilly. Ben Reilly accepting that this is his role to take and fight this current Peter Parker, and even admitting that he thinks he is the clone overall, but the current Peter Parker not really accepting that as an idea, thinking that maybe he's the real one. This, of course, is taking from the comics, the Clone Wars. Well, yeah, that's kind of where the line, I really hate clones, came from, which in itself is worth a video maybe later on, but for now we're just going to be focusing on this. This did give all the different aspects that we know of this Spider-Man in the perspective. From the hero, from the confidence, from the brooding, from the technological. And it's a very interesting way of putting it. It makes you see how all the different aspects of Spider-Man were applied in the series throughout it. And it's fun to see what would have happened later on. Except, of course, one Spider-Man who is not a Peter Parker, nor is he really a Spider-Man. He is just an actor playing Spider-Man. But that's for the ending. Anyway, let's move on to the characters themselves. As I said before, Christopher Daniel Barnes plays each character of the Spider-Man except for Madam Web, and does give a different variation of each character, making the Scarlet Spider a little more broody, making the Octo Spider-Man a little more technological based, and giving the Iron Spider-Man more confidence. The characters themselves do represent the different levels of Spider-Man. You can see that in the way they act and the way they talk to each other. Always a little hostile to one another, but willing to work to get the job done overall. And even learning that they need to work in unison if they want to achieve the goals. While at the same time, they do have their own distinct personalities. The Scarlet Spider-Man in this series is a resigned one. This is him accepting the fate of what he is. He may not know if he's the real Peter Parker or if he's just a clone, but he has gone on and become a better man for it. He accepts that he might be the clone and has chosen to abandon the name Peter Parker and leaving it to the one he believes is Peter Parker. It's a very honorable role and kind of gives this Wolverine-like character to him. We get Octo Spider-Man, who, if you kind of think about it, is kind of gruesome because he said that he stole these arms from Dr. Octopus the last time they fought, rewiring to himself in this situation. So that kind of gives a weird middle ground for him, I guess you could say, and gave inspiration to what would become the Superior Spider-Man later on. The Iron Spider-Man is definitely representative of the idea of what if Peter Parker basically became Tony Stark. This is kind of playing with that idea, but instead, what if Spider-Man never lost Uncle Ben? What if he achieved his goals at a young age? And what if he became the great inventor that he always dreamed of being? And he became this, basically. He became the very well-rounded kind of character. He's still with Mary Jane in a way, and he's still making millions of dollars, but there's something missing to him. There's that responsibility. You can tell that he's a little more egotistical. He is missing a sense of humanity and longing to be with the common people. As for the Man Spider, who does make an appearance of this, you know, this is the version of him that's always struggling with his abilities, struggling to be a human while at the same time having these abilities. That this is the version of him that feels like he's literally a monster in this situation. And of course, we have the actor playing Spider-Man. He doesn't really play a role in this except for doing a couple of things, but he does earn his place. He represents this version of him that's human. This version of him that doesn't really feel he's special, but more is just pretending to be someone unique and special. But at the end of the day, he does provide a legitimate reason of being there, whether he knows it or not. And Spider-Man, in this situation, the one we've been following in the animated series, is seeing himself taking a leadership role, showing that he is more than what he originally was set out to be. Just a protector, but now he's become a leader. He's become successful, and if he can even face his own shadows, he can definitely face anything that comes his way. And the last character I actually do want to talk about, well, I guess second to last character, because I do want to talk about this next one after this, which is Madam Web, which is played by Stan Lee's wife, Joan Lee, in this version, and they do have a small interaction with Stan Lee at the end, which is pretty funny. But she acts as more of a guiding hand, like an Aunt May sort of character, even though later on we would know who she was in the comics, not really in the series. And she does add a bit of ground for him, a mysterious person that acts like the Watcher, but at the same time is willing to put out a hand to help Peter Parker and these different Spider-Men. We do see her constantly in the last season of the show. And the last character that I really wanted to talk about was Spider-Carnage. I've always enjoyed this iteration of a bad Spider-Man. A Spider-Man that's not really evil, but more misguided, confused and heartbroken by decisions that he's either made or that he feels others have made for him. This version is looking for destruction added to the identity crises he's had. The Carnage symbiote is definitely playing with his head too, which is a very neat and interesting touch, and definitely is a great antagonist for Spider-Man to face his darker shadows. The animation overall is fine. I think it does what it needs to do. It adds to the characters and adds to the setting. It does feel a little choppy in some parts, and the lip sync is a bit off, but overall it does give personality to the characters, and it does allow people who are watching the show to have a better aspect of what this world is like. It does give an intimidating and different look upon the characters that we know. The two settings that we get from this are vastly different from what we have in the series previously. This is giving a dystopian New York that Spider-Man may or may not have caused, showing what it would have looked like if Spider-Man didn't have his heroics. But at the same time, in the other half, we have this super stylized futuristic version of New York that Spider-Man could make. And it does add different volumes and settings and have different colors and allows it to stretch out more, allows it to be more, in that sense that you can tell that these are two different worlds. But you're not thrown off by it. You're allowed to believe and kind of accept that this is the way that this is working in this sense. There aren't a lot of references I can bring into this one, other than, like I've said, Iron Spider-Man is definitely reminiscent of Tony Stark. But I can say that this definitely was the building blocks to what would later become the Spider-Verse. They didn't say it was a Spider-Verse, this was just a meeting of the Spider-Men. But this would definitely inspire different characters like the Superior Spider-Man. You can see this, the Man-Spider becoming a bigger obstacle later on. Of course, Ben Reilly becoming a constant in this main series overall. And just adds to this idea that this was a unique idea, and it gave an interesting perspective that there are more than just this one Peter Parker, that there are unlimited possibilities in these characters. We've probably seen the idea of a multiverse taking place in a cartoon, but I don't remember it being told this well and this different using the same character. In the end, this is probably one of the best Spider-Man finales they could make, because this has everything a Spider-Man finale should have. A look at what you've been, a look at the different versions you've been, a look at what you can become, a look at what you can do, things that what you're missing, and then with the things that you do have. And even some closure that you didn't know you needed, and some reaffirming thoughts that you didn't know you also wanted. There are some things in there that can be chalked up to just being for later, but this definitely had this finality to it, you know. This definitely did have the ending that this is the end. Though I would like to say that there was more planned. I can't say that for a fact, but it did leave leeway for something later on at the very end, with a meeting of Stan Lee coming in towards the end. But as the way it is now, I think this is a very good ending. This is a very well thought out and very professionally executed ending. It gave people a sense of closure for the storyline that we followed since season 1 all the way leading up to the Secret Wars. This made Spider-Man feel like he was achieving something, that he was a hero at heart, and that he will always be a hero. No matter how hard life gets, no matter how difficult he has to go down the same path and maybe make some mistakes, maybe become someone he doesn't want to be, or maybe feel like a monster sometimes. But at the end of the day, he is already Spider-Man, and he knows what he's doing is worth something. And to him, that's more than anything else he could ever want. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to try to go back to my regular schedule from now on. I just had a bit of a difficult week, but that's just how it goes. Thank you again for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please leave a like. If you have a comment, please leave it down below. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. I really do appreciate all my current subscribers and hope to have more sooner in the future. Thanks again for watching, and hope to see you guys next time.